Yeah. Thursday, August 25th, 2016, at 7:20 p.m. I do apologize for the lateness of the meeting, or bringing this in, is that we had to deal with some issues referencing to road issues. So, anyway, all right, at this time here, we're going to go ahead and do our Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, first on the agenda tonight, we have the Park and Recreation budget. Okay. And copies have been made available to everyone?
Yep.
Okay, very good. All right. And our donation, or our portion of the park, is the
7,500.
the 7,500. I do have a quick question, Karen, if I may. I know that you've had some things on the wish list, or your just thought list over the years of a dog park and things like that and everything. I know recently I kind of walked the back by the horseshoes and walked up that back area and stuff like that. I guess what I'd like to do with you is to be able to and you were talking about a walking path for citizens and stuff like that. What I'd like to do is sometime in the near future is take a look at that ideal that you have. And with what I see what's up there, I just need to know where our property line ends and where other things and stuff like that, so.
Yes, Helen, you had that.
Yep, I have it sitting aside.
The aerial.
Yes, okay. So I'd like to do that with you, because recently at our PSATS convention, there actually is grant money out there to help us develop those things, because those are things our communities are asking for, you know, dog parks and things like that. And the state will actually come in and help us plan those things. Actually we'll show them what we want to do, and they actually will come in with planners under that grant money and help us do that. So,
Yeah, we were discussing a walking trail, a dog park, and along the way, putting benches in and maybe a few exercise equipments, and for the dog park, put things in for the dogs.
Like fake fire hydrants.
Policeman. Postman, rather.
Postman.
Yeah. Country dogs, that's right, sorry.
oh, wait a minute, we can't forget police officers.
There you go. Definitely.
There is a story behind that,
Oh,
right,
yeah,
Chief?
absolutely. Twice.
Now the dog got to get rabies shots, correct?
I think it died.
Well, at least we can laugh about it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I have a question
Excuse
on,
me, Brian. Oops, sorry.
yes.
Hi, I'm Brian. The other thing we really need is an office space of our own and a place to store our equipment. We were using about 85 square feet of floor space in that concession stand, floor space to put our tractor and our mower in there. all this little stuff. Anytime you get something, it's banged around, moved around, and you can't find things. So we wanted to design a building that we put our equipment in and put an office in there for us to run our meetings in. Done that, whole barn with cement floor. And we were having the walking trail come out, I just passed it there along the top edge of the park. We have about 4 or 5 locations that we could put that in. Basically, the park walks away, we walk all the way around the park to the half mile. There would be some concessions for handicapped people where they have to go to ski vehicle and get stuff through sometimes.
Okay. I know one thing that underneath recent laws that have been passed in the United States and also looking at being passed in Pennsylvania, we may end up having to redo our bathrooms
Yes.
out there at the park.
You're gonna have to-
Because I know what a lot of businesses are starting to do, they're building bathroom closets,
Yep.
single-use bathrooms. Because of the transgender, that means men can go in our women's bathroom out there. And that means we have too many children. It's, you know, some people will say, well, Mr. Peters, it's your religious values that are guiding you. No, it's just common sense, okay? It's just common sense.
The bathroom we're gonna put in we put a office there, it's gonna be an outside bathroom with male, female, and
Right.
handicap.
Well,
I
I can-
don't have a handicap accessible restaurant.
Restaurant. Well, and that's where if we have to redesign that out there, you know, they're gonna be individual bathrooms, individual use. Just so that way we don't have to worry about multi-genders being in the restaurants and stuff like that. Having an office space out there, I don't know if that's something because we have quality office space here in the building. So what that we use, I think at this point here, you not knowing, but there's other things facing us in the 2017 budget year. There's a lot of uncertainties on some things, so we have to really manage and look at things very closely that we stay within a reality of what we can and can't do for 2017. So right now, you feel that there's inadequate storage space for us to keep our equipment and things like that out there in the shed.
One other thing about the grants you can get, they're 50-50 most of them, and we can make up our 50% labor. And some amount of money, and maybe some donations, stuff like equipment or whatever, to do it. But we can get 50% of that from, is all we have to pay.
Correct.
And we had I put 3 grants in here. We got some for the trees up there in the other corner. We had some tree land. And we put some in for the bird land. The banks out there, which again, use anything useful for them. And there's some things that set up, there's a, maybe they're a playground for the kids, you know, big plastic shoes and stuff. I think that old, maybe we should maybe put another one in out there. And the path, we have that all done now. If we have the support of volunteers.
Correct. Well, and the thing about it is that we can say volunteers, but 99% of the time when we ask for it, they don't show up. You know, unless we drum up enough passion for people to come out. You know, if there's been a playground, was it Lebanon or Lancaster, that was all made out of wood. Somebody burned it down. Well, in one day they got 150 volunteers because it was passionate that this playground was burnt. You know, but I would love to say, do we have that support? But I know Karen's history has been, she has to gravel to get people in the community to come out and help, you know? And maybe that's where we need to get more creative about getting information out there. What I would encourage the Park and Rec to do is to come up with a 2, 3, 5, 6 year, 7 year plan out, say, okay, let's do this year, and let's do this next year, okay? But
They submitted to the public a query as to what they wanted to have in their park. We did one with a professional group 2 years before we did this one. And we did one about 2 years after that, which we mailed out to here. Everyone got a letter. They had a 20% return on, and they told us what they want, I think, so that was our, so our.
Well, one of the things then we have to do is then execute that 2, 3, 5. We just can't talk about it and put it on paper and say we're gonna do it. We have, if that's our passion, to have quality parks and recs in our township, you know, we can dream about it, but we have to execute it, you know? And with a small park and rec department that we have and lack of volunteers, you know, maybe we can't do as much as we would like to do this year. So let's do the dog park next year, let's do the walking trail the following year. But, and as we get interest and people start saying, hey, we got and not that we don't have a valuable, but people start valuing what has been going on in Park and Rec and starting to see. You know, and that's one part with us getting the new website. Park and Rec will have a huge spot on that to be able to get information out into our community about what we're doing in Park and Rec. So, you know, I remember growing up in East Pennsboro. We had several little small parks, but when East Pennsboro decided to build Adam Rickey, they got a huge but what have they been doing for the last 15 years at Adam Rickey? They did this section, and then they did this, then every year they added to Adam Rickey to where now they're across the road. You
Add
know,
another section.
adding another section, so,
You're
so
gonna double
what,
the size of it.
yeah, so what they've done.
And once the community sees.
Correct, then there's involvement, yes. Then there's more involvement, so, but by us starting somewhere, you know, and actually, so I'm for the dog park, I'm for the walking trail. Is that something we can do next year? I say let's put it on the agenda, let's get those grants, and then, you know, and get the volunteers out there. You know, the dog park really isn't a lot of volunteers to do that stuff, it's an easier thing. The walking trail, a little bit more. Because we're gonna need people to be able to cut logs or do this or do that, so we can put in the exercise stations and stuff like that throughout. Nothing, you know, tremendously hard, but again, volunteers does make it a whole lot cheaper.
Well, the grants mostly come out, they offer a program in January to go and see how to fill an application out, you know, and go through the steps. And the grants will come out at the beginning of February, middle of February, and they have to be in by March. And you've got 6 weeks to fill it out.
Okay, well, and a lot of those grants aren't overly difficult, you know, to write. I've been a part of some larger grants, but if you guys do the research, you know, let me know, and what we can try to do is work on those grants ourselves. If we know that they're due in February, well, and we may need to start filling out the grant in December, so that way we get it filled out and submit it in January, make sure that everything's, because sometimes those grants are specific. You gotta make sure you cross your Ts and you dot your Is, and if not, you're out of it. Some of those grants also are joint community grants, where it's something Duncan and us can work together on a park adventure, you know, and stuff like that. So, so there's all kinds of creative ways that we can grow our park and rec, you know, and you know, with the vision and the planning, we can accomplish those things. Okay. All right, any other questions on the proposed budget here for the park and rec?
I have a question.
Yes.
Item 367.501, park fundraiser.
Yes.
In the description, in this last sentence says, the plan is to have a craft yard sale this year, but yet you have a 0 number in the proposed revenue for that item. If you're going to have a craft yard sale, then will you anticipate getting some revenue from that? Or are you uncertain enough that you don't want to put a figure in there?
We're uncertain what we would get in, because there's a couple different thoughts. There's, we charge like a space, or maybe we offer a free space just to get interest. So the first year we might not get a whole lot of money, but donations or something like that. But the second year you could start charging, because then you got the people coming to it. So that hasn't been decided yet.
Okay.
So, yeah, we first need to bring the interest in, let them know that we're doing that, and make it a big event, and then maybe the following year, like Helen said, maybe charge $10 for 2 spaces.
She's talking 2 parking spaces.
Well, and one thing that Karen and I have already spoken about previously, We didn't get the chance to do it this year because it was kind of like too close to do it. But there's actually been cooperation between Duncannon and ourselves to have a one-day event or two-day event, yard sale that would be, it would go from Duncannon through Penn Township and down to the 11 and 15 corridor as a event where it would draw people to our business corridor to visit our businesses, but yet also have yard sale where the businesses would actually give, say, to the township, all right, say, enters Oak World will say, okay, I'm gonna give you 20 spots down here, and you can set up people, then we can rent those spots out, and that money would come back to the Park and Rec. You know, the empty lots down there the owners would say, okay, you can use the whole lot, and whatever money we make off of it comes back to the Park and Rec. So this is something, again, so I think this is visionary on Karen's part and Park and Rec, but if we plan this with the business, you know, invite people to our business corridor, our Penn Township businesses, Duncannon said that they would be interested in doing something next year with us with it, because it was just too close to what's going on down in Duncannon, and too close for their Park and Rec to be able to join in with us. But they were very much interested, and the businesses in Duncannon were very much interested, and even along 1115, a lot of the businesses down there, they just said try to do it earlier in the year. Don't wait till July, try to do it in June. So it's something we can start planning now. That way we work with, this is Duncannon, we work with the Park and Rec down there, and we work with our businesses to be able to do that yard sale. And I really envision that bringing in quite a bit of money for Park and Rec. So, and again, we're not gonna charge $30 a space, but it could be $5 or $10 a space. We're not trying to gouge anybody, but I think, you know, planning it and organizing it, we can benefit our businesses and benefit Park and Rec. So,
And we also talked about possibly, you and I talked about it on the senior lunch days, maybe getting some type of way, a vehicle or to pick up seniors at the nursing homes. Because I started this program for senior lunches, and I started out with 4 seniors. I'm up to 40, 45 plus now, within a matter of a couple, 3 years, 4 years.
Not even that long.
One senior lunch, I almost hit 50 seniors. But the difficulty is getting them all here,
Okay.
like you and I had talked about.
good.
I
Now,
know Stanley drove a bus one time and picked some people up, I think, somewhere. Would they come from King Cora?
no,
King
doesn't
Cora,
King
Stonebridge.
Cora, does King Cora have a, I thought they had a bus.
They use one of the Perry County transportation buses,
Transportation ones,
Okay.
yeah.
but they have their own driver.
They have their own driver, so they have to be a CDL.
Yeah, and there's,
Well,
enough
Stanley
people,
has a CDL, and
well.
so does Red. I mean,
yeah.
and that's who drove the bus
Okay.
for
Well,
us.
My
Bus for us.
question
I would
is-
love to keep the program going, like I said, when I started it, 4, now we're up to 40, 45 plus.
So Perry County Transportation would be willing to loan us a bus on those
Oh, I
days?
don't- I
We'd
don't
have to
know.
check
Oh,
with
you don't
them.
know, okay.
And also Aurora.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
said, so Roar's always been very community oriented.
Mhm.
Even talking to Roar's, you know.
I mean, they enjoy coming up, you know, to spend the afternoon and have the luncheons and.
Okay.
Sit around and talk for a little
I
bit.
would go ahead and work with Sam Roar about maybe once a month donating a bus to the township, as long as we have but I guess we gotta make sure we're liability
That's what I was
lies
gonna say,
too.
what about?
So we'd have to check with our insurances, if Helen, if you can look at that side of it. You know, just make sure liability issues, you know,
Because I'm sure a lot more would come if they,
You know, you'd have to
If they-
get wheelchair accessible too. And
Right.
I know I do a lot with the disabled veterans on the islands. We do a picnic every month. And of course, the caregivers have to come along too,
Correct,
because they have
exactly.
special
Yeah.
needs. And
well, and I think King Coral only released people that were able to,
Right.
to come. you
Pretty
know.
much.
So that would have to be a requirement or something that, you know,
but I would like
we don't
to
have
see
to parade
something.
their spaghetti for
I
them.
mean,
Yeah.
I would like to see that continue to grow for the senior residents.
Okay.
Yeah, we have people call us and ask what's on the next luncheon.
Are you putting a schedule of all of them in the next newsletter?
The senior lunches?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we
Okay.
have,
We advertise of what we have,
Yeah.
and now we're putting out flyers,
yeah,
distributing flyers from here to Enola, from
Okay,
here on up.
yeah, it's not just Penn Township people.
Yeah,
It's,
it's not just for Penn
Right.
Township.
we only have 2 more this year, September and October.
okay.
Question. The meals and stuff like that, does that come out of the Park and
budget.
Rec's fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Or
Now,
donations
Lee
of other
does
people?
donate, like for Halloween, he'll donate pumpkins. Stanley's
That's
been
what I was
wonderful
getting at.
donating.
Have you went out and seen about donations and how
Yes.
it works out? And has that benefited you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I was curious about that.
Yeah, because I would even contact the food co-op
And the police have, you guys have
on
donated.
Gambers. What's that?
Oh,
The police
samples.
have donated, Stanley Mutzball's donated, Lee's donated.
Have you thought about a Facebook page?
Yeah, Helen and I have talked about it.
I would highly recommend a Facebook page, because then you can link yourself to This is Duncannon, This is Perry County, and you can link each other together, that when you put out an event, it goes out to theirs also. I would really look at a Facebook page, because a lot of people are actually going to Facebook pages over websites. They're using the Facebook like a website, and it's a whole lot cheaper. It's-
Yeah, I was
it's-
basically waiting until the office you guys got all,
The new,
everything up and running to do
Right.
that.
Yeah, but I would go ahead and start building the Facebook and start getting invites out there, because you'd be surprised how many people at the nursing home are on Facebook. It's how people are communicating with their families across the country. When my wife's grandmother was alive, that's how we communicated with her, was through Facebook, and live chat and things like that. So Facebook, the social media, is right now powerful. If we got Hillary and Donald Trump using Facebook as, it's a good source of getting information out there. So if you need any help with that, just let me know. I have people that can help you build your Facebook. Okay, and help teach you how to keep track of numbers, what you're looking at, invites versus conversations, so.
I can get her hooked up there too.
Oh, you can? Okay, so, oh, yes.
So that's not a
Yeah,
problem.
so there's people in the township that can help you build those for free, help you build those Facebooks, so, okay? All right. Okay, any other questions referencing to the Park and Rec budget?
Yes, Karen, what is, on the expense side, what are the outside services? The 5.454.300.
that's the company that they
Oh,
want.
that's, Rich Parrish to do the landscaping. I've done it all these years and my back just wasn't holding up to be out here for days and days and days at a time anymore, so we hired an outside service to come in and do the landscaping.
Thank you.
And they originally came in and they did the gardens, they did all the trimming, all the mulching, and now they come once a month to keep everything manicured. And I still come over and pick up trash and weeds, it's just by habit I do. But that's what that is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the Park and Rec budget? My thought with Park and Rec is, I would like to be able, in the future, to be able to give more to Park and Recs. I believe having, great parks and services for our community, to see them getting used more and stuff like that. I would like to give more, but because there's some uncertainties facing us for next year, we really need to keep everything tight.
I should
Just,
adjust that.
if things change next year and things, things turn around, but right now, I'd like to get more, but we need to hold the line. So,
We appreciate it.
so. And we appreciate the job you've done. Matter of fact, maybe someday we'll be able to park after you. So, okay, if that is for no other questions referencing to the Park and Rec, let's go ahead and, one question I do, about, have you gotten any estimates about what it would cost to expand to our current concession stand, to put more?
No.
Okay. Okay, and I would probably say it's something we probably could get volunteers to do. But if you could just get an idea of what you're looking at doing, even if you just did a sketch of what you're looking at wanting to do, and then maybe we can get an estimate and we can see what it would cost to do it. Okay?
Description sheet for this,
Yeah, the revenue for the fleet.
yeah, the description and then.
Oh, you didn't have, oh, I didn't put one in there for you guys. It's the highlighted items. Now, on the revenue, Rick pointed out that the total is incorrect. It's $232,536. It has to have been the,
The revenue was what?
232,536.
32,536.
Yes. I have to check the formula.
192,536.
Yeah. I gotta check that.
232,536. And the loss of revenue was to what reason, Chief?
No, it was just added
Oh,
up.
oh,
I added wrong.
It was
Oh,
the,
okay.
yeah, that all added up the same thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was down 100,000.
I have to check
I
the
think that-
formula.
The addition in the cells
Mm-hmm.
didn't catch a one. Or didn't carry it.
232,536.
That's just the revenue right there, that I gave you.
Yeah, is there a description sheet for the revenue?
No, that's what I handed you with the highlights on it. Okay.
Okay.
We didn't get a description sheet?
No, that was a
Okay.
last second.
If you have it in your folder.
Description sheet.
Oh,
No, not the description sheet. That's the, they have this one, but they don't have this. They have the breakdown,
Yeah.
but the descriptions for them, they don't have the revenue descriptions. You have the annual copy
Well, I
here.
have the only, well, so we make copies for.
Oh, I can.
I will make them.
Okay, well, here. I didn't think about it until the last minute.
Okay, and looking at the expenditure budget,
What, you looking at going, leaving revenue?
well, I'm just looking at the,
Mm-hmm.
now this revenue is not with the Duncannon portion.
Yes, it
correct?
is. It's the, with the
Oh, there it
Duncannon,
is. Okay, I'm sorry.
with the,
Yes.
what's in the contract.
And is that with the increase in the contract?
Yes.
And it's a contract that we're unsure of.
We're not, they are.
Well,
Yeah.
correct, yes, I understand. So,
And that's why it's not 50/50 this year.
Well, they haven't seen that part yet.
Oh, sorry. Where we at?
That's on the
Oh,
expenditures.
sorry.
okay. So, Buchanan's portion for 2017,
Is 186,736.
okay. Now the 84,580, part of that was just paid, correct?
Yeah, there's another 42,
42,
yeah, that will come in with it. It's just that this was as of July and that didn't come in until
but we don't
August.
even know if that's coming in.
No,
The
yes.
last quarter.
The last quarter, we don't, no.
Oh, thank you, sir. Okay.
Right now, about 116,000 is what we received, and some odd.
Okay. I guess my question is, if we don't get that last quarter payment, what are we going to do to adjust this current year's budget not to go over it?
Oh.
Yeah. I get the questions for Chief, you know. I mean, we need to anticipate this year's, but even though we're talking about next year's, but we need to talk about this year's budget for a moment.
What would be the quarterly payment, 84,000?
No, 24, I'm 42,
42,000?
Yeah,
Yeah.
42, 250, 40,
something like that.
yeah.
We didn't get the third quarter.
We got the third quarter. So we're now, but that came in August, not July. So 116,000 is what we received. Some odd.
Go back to 8-hour shifts and say 43,000.
Well, so I guess my question is that, if the fourth quarter payment doesn't come, are we still gonna maintain a 24/7?
Oh, well, we can, I mean, it's, you know, we have to adjust some stuff. I mean, we were, actually with Cliff leaving, and we were doing pretty good here, but we pretty much shot our extra here towards the end. And what are you gonna do?
So
too?
how
I
do
mean,
we-
are you gonna continue to service Duncannon? I mean.
Well, if they don't pay us,
Right, but if they don't pay us because they can't afford it, and they ask if you can front it?
Once again, I keep falling back on liability, but where do we stand? Liability issue. Can we in fact enforce the law there? We don't have a contract, we don't have a payment.
Yeah, no, we don't know
Yeah.
that.
I don't know, that's something
Yeah,
that
that's
Mark's
something
gonna
that
have
Mark
to
would
has
have
answer.
to-
Duncannon reached out to us, as in this committee they wanted to meet with, and we reached back out to them, as in our meeting, has anything been sent by them?
Yes,
to
Monday
call?
The meeting's set for Monday, so
Monday.
we have not had any meetings as of yet.
Okay.
Monday at 7:15, I
I
believe.
believe so.
But that question, as far as servicing Duncannon, that would have to be some kind of working agreement, I would believe, that Mark would have to approve before we can continue service down there.
Yeah, even though it's a contract, it's gonna be a non-paid contract, which is a breach of contract.
It's a breach of contract, exactly, so then you're gonna have to fall back on some type of renewed contract that the lawyer's gotta get
Right,
involved with.
if we would continue in a breach, then obviously
yes,
we
we-
accept it, and then we have no standing either, so that the.
So we gotta wait
We
until
wouldn't
Monday.
have any legal authority to do anything without it.
Okay. Well, and,
So,
you know, I mean,
if it comes to that, that's something we'll have to raise, that be
But the thing about it is that I know helping our neighbors, but can we afford to
Financially.
consume that other 40-some thousand dollars, which wasn't budgeted, and where we're gonna get that money from?
Well,
And the novelty word is, and I don't wanna do it, and I don't wanna do it, because a township of our size, right now, we have about 750,000.
Something like that.
That's
CDs.
in CDs, okay? And a township our size, really, our we should have more of a solid foundation than what we do, because one major thing, that $750,000 gone, you know? And not to pick on the municipal authority, but if something would happen to Sunshine Hill, is the municipal authority in a place to take care of it? If it's something major? No, we're gonna have to come to the township, so, you know, we can't look at those CDs as, oh, that's we got CDs, we can dip into them. That's a last resort, last resort, and
Can we continue, I think, can we continue 24/7?
I'd have to-
The fourth quarter.
what is it, the fourth quarter, 40,000?
42.
42, about 42.5.
I figure
yeah.
43, right?
Yeah, 42.
42 and change.
You know, and you said that we had some reserve
Well-
from Cliff leaving, there was
Right.
some reserves. So
We were gonna
my,
actually look at that to hit.
well, my question is, what happened to that reserve?
Well, yeah, we had several officers out, we have 12-hour shifts now, which has
Well,
3
yeah, but
officers.
that reserve was eaten up before the 12-hour shifts.
No, that includes the 12, till the end of the year.
Well, no, yeah, but you said that we had reserve, Cliff's reserve, and that's all gone. So what happened?
Oh, no, that'll be gone at the end of the year, that's what I meant.
Okay,
No,
I thought it was gone already.
No, it's not gone yet, no.
Not all of it is gone
No.
already.
Okay, but a good portion of it?
I'd have to do the math.
Okay.
I would have to do the math.
Because we gotta make sure we sustain ourselves to the end of the year also,
And we can-
without dipping in, we gotta meet budget. You know, we have to meet budget, and if we have to go to less than 24/7 coverage, I hate the thought of not having 24/7 coverage, but our neighbor that we have come into an agreement with are having financial troubles, and therefore that impacts what we do, because we provided services, and it was an agreement. And we can go back and forth on the semantics of, is it a legal contract, is it a legal contract? If
They'll have it.
Yeah, and now there's gonna be a breach of contract, to a contract that some are saying that's not a legal contract. But I'm not here to play semantics with it, it's just, we have financial issues, and we have to be as frugal as we can, to make sure that all departments come within budget and we don't go over.
And I can,
Years past, we've always been able to have some type of a extra that we could put into, when I say
That's what
extra,
we-
meaning that there was additional revenue not expected, we were able to put money back into CDs. Are we gonna be able to do that at the end of this year? And I've been working with Helen and with Libby here, pretty closely asking where we at with revenue, where we at. Our biggest picture at the end of September will tell us more of a true picture of where we're at. But we're already talking about, okay, let's look at it, we're close.
Yes,
And we
there's
need
no
to be
doubt.
tight. Yes, sir,
The statement you made earlier about the capital reserve or the CDs,
correct.
you say you wish there would be more in there, okay?
Correct, oh yeah,
Okay, with that being said, do you have a goal set for that? Like a long-term plan or something that you're looking forward to?
while I was
Because I
speaking,
do know a lot of other townships and stuff operate closer to the $1 million range, take or give in case there's issues,
Correct.
Plus or minus it, you
and
see it
that's the
advertised a
goal. I
lot.
talked to a gentleman at, was it PNC or was it Wellford? It was I talked to a gentleman at PNC that deals with, local government, deals with loans with local governments and stuff like that, and finance. And he said a township our size should have a solid $1 million base, you know, to its capital reserves or to its CDs, you know. What I'd like, you know, what I'd like to be able to do is looking at those budgets is be able to
Reserve and general fund.
keep everything tight. And in recent budgets I've worked with at my job, being part of that budget process this year, for the first time, I saw how my budgets have been built. And there's been a lot of cushion built into my budgets over the years, which I didn't know because I didn't have involvement in those. Oh, I was told, this is your budget, stay within it, okay? So now I understand that looking at my budget, oh, well, okay, there's a little bit here, a little bit there, you know, so that way at the end, you know, but for me personally, I would like a truer budget. This is what we have, this is what you can spend, and this is what we're hoping to have at the end of the year. You know, a true budget number. So looking at next year's budget, you know.
But there's a lot of variables in
Oh.
that, so you have to create a cushion window within them structures to operate
Oh,
under, because you have no idea what the
Well,
volume
no,
of
just
the
like,
market's gonna
just
be.
like payroll. We cushioned our payroll in my budget at work. We cushioned payroll. Why did we cushion? Because one of our contracts, it's not renewable now, but in September, it's gonna be renewable. And state mandates underneath this current governor has now moved contracts and state employees all must be making $10.25 an hour. Okay, so when my new contract comes up for one of my state sites, okay, we had to build cushion into it because now we know that from here until next September, we're gonna have additional revenue to pay for those increases, you know?
But just to take that up another $250,000 at $25,000 a year or $30,000 a year, that's a long-term plan.
Right. You know, so with that, and I agree with you, that we need to hold the line on the budget as tight as we can. Know that there's gonna be situations, you know, we didn't anticipate this thing with Duncannon. It was never one of our wildest thoughts. We thought it was a solid agreement. And now we have to backtrack and look at where can we be more frugal in the fuel, that word, with that budget, you know. But looking at future budgets, I would like to see us within the next 5 years try to make our CDs a solid $1 million CDs. That's the goal, you know. Now, revenue-wise, you know, one of the things, and I'm gonna look at honestly, and I hate the word, but when I did run for office, I did say there's a possibility of someday raising taxes in the township. You know, holding the budget close and holding things sometimes ends up hurting the township because we're not moving forward with getting newer equipment or newer programs to run things more efficiently in our offices and our departments. So with that being said, I'm not wanting, you know, looking at Duncannon's situation with our police department, how do we get creative with the budget to ensure that we keep our people safe? Also, part of our oath that we took was health, safety, and welfare of our community. You know, our ambulance, we look at ambulance companies folding up all the time, all over the state. How do we, you know, merge with other EMSs to be able to provide services? And then again, fire protection, you know? So with all those variables we're looking at, and then the school district, they're raising taxes next year, okay? So how do we grow our revenue in our township? Well, we have the economic development economic development team that's working on putting on, you know, how do we grow our business district 11 and 15? How do we grow the business park, you know? And I can sit here tonight and say there's some really good potential for the business park. And there's some, you know, but nobody's signed on the line yet. And I can't make any, we can't look, oh, well, we may have an extra $100,000 next year. I don't know that, because they haven't signed anything on the line yet. So there's always people looking to expand, but can we attract them to come here? You know, you know, so with that being said, is that, you know, with the economic development team, you know, looking at how can we grow our businesses, what can we do to attract businesses. I know personally this week, I was contacted by a convenience chain, that's an out-of-state based convenience chain that is looking at our 11 and 15 corridor. They're a convenience chain that actually has the gas station, but they also have a restaurant, a full-fledged restaurant attached with the convenience store. With that being said, I'm turning them over to, because me as a supervisor, I can't be talking to them about that stuff. Okay, you know, but anyway, but they contacted me, they saw our website, and they saw that I was the chairman, so they contacted me. So I'm leading them now to the economic development team, and then also to the planning.
Planning commission.
Planning commission, because they're the ones that have to deal with that, not me. They bring it to us, you know. So, but again, there's nothing written on the line. There's a lot of people say they like to do this and like to do that, but again, you know, so how do we grow revenue in the township without raising taxes? We haven't had a tax increase in the township since 2013, 2014. There was a tax decrease in 2015. Or was it the other way around?
Those dates are wrong.
Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't have a tax increase in 13.
No, we didn't.
Okay, was
It's
it,
been way longer than that.
okay,
I think 13 was the decrease,
what's the decrease?
and it was
2000 to 2001?
2000, no, not that far back. It was about 5 or 6 when we
Oh, that, yes, yes.
raised it for the fire companies.
Correct, yes, okay, yes. So since 2006, so in 10 years, there's not been an increase in taxes in our township. Which has kept things very tight in the township, which has not created additional revenue to be able to put into those CDs. Just because you raise taxes doesn't mean that you have to spend it, as in, we have future road repairs, so we look down the road. Okay, we're gonna need X number of dollars. Is the revenue gonna be there for that? So we plan now. Just because last year, in January, because I was at those meetings, the school board was already talking, or December and January was already talking about school tax increase for 2017. So they already were looking at a budget 2 years down the road, saying, okay, we know that we're gonna need this revenue 2 years from now, we gotta start raising taxes. And that's the last thing I wanna do. You know, really, last thing. So how do we do other things in the township to increase revenue? You know, to strengthen our community? It may come down to a tax increase. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you no new taxes. I can't make that promise, whether it's in property tax, whether it's in employment tax, or the other sources of revenue we have coming in. And we are taking a hit in some revenue so far this year, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes. EIT is not up there.
EIT is not there. You know, whether that money's going to other townships and we have to recruit that back, we gotta get with capital tax and find out why is our revenue down? You know, is it going somewhere else by mistake because employers aren't labeling it correctly for their payroll? There's a lot of variables in that. So, okay. So with the police budget, you know, we have some uncertainties. So, you know, are we gonna have to bring it before our residents? If we want the 24/7, we may look at a small millage tax increase to keep the police department at 24/7. My goal, and Chief Pickles and I agree on this, that eventually I'd like to see us get rid of all of our part-timers because we're wasting training dollars on part-timers that are going elsewhere. We bring them in for 3 months or 2 months, we get them certified and this and that, next thing you know, they're gone. And if anybody knows, training dollars is the most of any budget is the training dollars. And we're blowing those training dollars by training them, certifying them, and then they say goodbye. Do we get the new guys to sign an agreement that they have to stay with us for a year? So we recruit back. That's been done in the past in other places. You know I've had to sign agreements that, when I worked for Toys R Us, I had to sign an agreement. If they were gonna pay for my training and all that stuff, I had to stay with them for 2 years. You know, and they invest
You
them.
need to get your money back out of your costs.
Correct,
I
exactly.
mean, even if you break even, you need to get your money back out.
Exactly,
That-
you know, or the other option is, and again, this is where Chief and I agree, is that I'd like to see us go to a full-time police department and get rid of all the part-time, where maybe we have 5 full-timers instead of 14 part-timers. You know, then we will keep quality officers on the force instead of, we lost a lot of quality officers because we just didn't have to offer what they wanted. And, you know, and we have a great team of officers right now, hearing great things on Facebook, you know, of the community engagement and the things that they're doing, you know, which is a plus for our police department, you know. But we have some uncertainties, you know, and I guess that's why on Monday, we need to get some clarification from Duncannon. What direction are you going? Because we got a budget to put together. And we need answers, and we don't want uncertainty, you know. I'm not looking for a sign on the line promise, but we need our neighbors to be real with us and say, you know, what direction are you going? You know, and we need to know by the end of September.
Help.
It would help. September,
help.
mid-October is the latest, because I'd like to have the budget approved and passed in November. You know, that we don't wait to the December last meeting to pass the budget, that we have it passed in November. That's my goal, is to see it passed in November. So we need questions. So when we look at this budget here, we see the revenue, we're going to lose, from Duncannon, $186,000.
Bring it down to 45,800.
What's that?
45,800
So,
without Duncannon.
what's that?
He looked at me funny.
Now, do we have a budget here with Duncannon and without Duncannon?
We have it on the expenditures.
Oh, expenditures, okay.
No, I just did the math.
Oh, okay, all right. And I guess that's where we need to put it out to the citizens, you know, in September, after we have these meetings with Duncannon. Because we may say this is the budget now, but we're going to either have to cut our force, cut our services to the community to meet budget, raise taxes to meet budget, or find out what Duncannon is doing. And that's our 3 options, you know. Looking at going to a full-time police department, getting rid of part-time, that can't even be in the vision right now. I mean, it's a long-term vision, but it's something we can't address for next year because there's too many uncertainties, you know. And though the
There's
economic,
entirely too many.
What's that?
There's entirely too many uncertainties.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
you know,
So, there's so many different options, there's so many different directions we could be going.
and maybe I'm just being over conservative, you know.
No, not at all.
I believe if
For
we're
the
going to.
time being, we have to find a way to get through the end of this year,
Correct.
minus that B2, whatever.
Well, and,
If it doesn't show up,
you know, and where do we sit in October, November, and December in the police budget? You know, it doesn't look too good, correct, Helen?
Not right this
Chief?
second,
You
not
mean
without them.
Without the final payment?
Without Duncannon.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean
What
this
we
year?
did-
Yeah, this year.
Yeah.
payment for this year, right?
Yeah, if we miss the final payment for this year, yeah, we can keep 24/7, we'd have to do some adjustments. You could save $19,840 just on change, switching shifts here.
Means getting away from the 12-hour shifts, or?
Oh, yeah.
So we won't be out of money by October.
If we, no, I mean, what we need to do is start now, there's only 16 weeks left, I believe.
So, not even that many. 4, 8, 13, 14.
16, first.
14 more pays.
Well,
Well,
I guess my question,
But that's 28 weeks.
well, I guess
26, 9.
another question then for you, Chief, is how does the 8-hour versus the 12-hour make a difference?
Well, with myself taking a shift by myself and with the corporal taking a shift by himself, then that's, you know, there's 80 hours a week that's saved. And
By staying with the 12-hour or going to the,
no. By going 8 hours, we work daylight, 40 hours in our.
okay, but is there a reason we need 2 full-time, is there a reason we need 2 full-timers on an 8-hour shift during the day, 8 to 4? Can the corporal be
No,
doing?
that's exactly what I mean. We shift, we both work by ourselves. And then that leaves, you know, I'd work 7 to 3, the corporal would work 3 to 11, and then we'd have an 11 to 7 shift for part-time. And then we would then do 16, you know, 80 hours a week. That would save 80 hours. With the 12-hour shifts, and with the corporal and myself working, we have 2 people out, we have 3 people out, 7 to 3.
So if we did a Monday through Friday, 12-hour shifts, that would be 3 days. So could we have, you work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 12 during the day, and then have the corporal work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 12 hours, you know, or, you know, and then have the part-timers fill in those other hours.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to keep 12-hour shifts, that's your goal.
Well, it's just, you know, it's having one person on for those 12 hours that, because at least we would have that flexibility then, or even having, we'd have to get creative with it.
So we definitely have to get creative, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just think by having the 12-hour shifts, having somebody on for 12 hours, solidly knowing their shift for 12 hours and knowing what's the full picture of the township versus the 8 hours. Or,
I think that's part of the problem with the 8-hour shifts, the way they were implemented, in that the officer wasn't working on a regular basis enough that the people would get used to him, the people would know he the same, and there's more continuity with a standard 12-hour shift where they're working 3 days a week, where they have interaction, where they're out doing the patrol, seeing what's going on. You know what I'm talking about right there. I think it's beneficial for the 12-hour shifts. Now, if we can't do it, we can't do it.
You have the 3 to 11 shift, I mean, rather than having people switch off, then, I mean, just keep the same person on. Obviously, if myself and the corporal are working separate shifts, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, then one or 2 people can pick up the rest of it.
Well, that's a concern. I'd like to see a rotation of the guys that are out there doing the job that are doing it on a regular basis. So that we don't have Smith on today, he doesn't come back to work till next Friday, that type of thing. You know what I mean? Jones comes on tomorrow and he didn't come back till next Saturday.
Well, and I think the
A
day.
That's what I mean, we
regular
cut-
rotation where you have the same fellow working the regular shift on a regular basis,
Correct.
rather than Smith today, Brown tomorrow, and they're not back in until 7 days, 8 days from now. Makes it hard to follow up on things, it makes it hard for court dates, it makes it hard for everything that way.
Well, and that's what, and with the 8 hours, I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, you just had the same person in them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna, we can cut down on people, if we can get somebody that's gonna stay and be able to work a constant, say, midnight shift. I mean, that's what it seems like. And then
Well,
weekends.
I guess that's my question, by having the 12-hour shifts and having somebody have a schedule where they know they're gonna work a 12-hour shift from 6, or say 4 in the evening, or 6 in the evening to 6 the next morning, and they would have maybe they only want 24 hours, maybe they only want 24 hours, so they're getting 2 days back to back, they will work Wednesday, Thursday, and that's their permanent schedule, you know? So we know every Wednesday and Thursday, those two guys, that guy's gonna be working that shift. I think
the
we had a
argument
lot
should
of guys working only one day a week, and maybe 1 day every 2 weeks. To me, that's telling that officer, that's the officer telling me that he's not vested in the township. He's only working 1 day every 2 weeks, or working 1 day, you know, I know in the past that, you know, that some people were asked to step down because we're paying for one person working 1 day a pay period. We're paying workman's comp, we're paying all those fees for somebody that's working 1 day or 2 days a month. That's not really frugal with our money either. That's part of that training money, or part of that employment money that, you know, if we had somebody working a 12-hour shift.
Well, the same argument can be made with the 8-hour shifts. I mean, we just work,
We
I mean,
have-
if they're able
we
to
have
work,
to do it.
you know, 3 days in a row, and then somebody else works 3 days in a row, or 4 days, and then the following week, they work 4 days, and the other guy works 3 days. And so then you have your 7 days covered on that shift, and then on the weekends, you have 7 to 3 and 3 to 11 on Saturday and Sunday. That one guy could work the 16 hours, too.
I'm
both
like
days.
Brian here, I want, and I've said this, you know how I feel about this. Eventually, long-term, I'd like to see more full-time police department. And rather than a part-time, but that's long-term, that's
And I
not
believe-
something we can even think about right now.
And the 12-hour shifts bring it more continuity and brings it closer to
Exactly.
that.
Well, if we have to go to 8-hour shifts, we have to go to 8-hour shifts. But my thought is, if we have a group of guys that are showing that they're vested in the township, that they want to be here, that they're interested in here, and they're the only, if we have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of those guys, they're the ones we want to use. As much as I don't want to hurt the other guys that are filling in on a, you know, as needed basis.
So if we
You
had
can do
a
10-hour
solid,
shifts, too.
if we had a solid 6 officers, part-timers, that said,
If we
I'm
worked
committed.
4-hour shifts, I wouldn't be upset with that as long as they were happy.
Correct. Well, what I'm
But-
saying that, but if we had
you know.
officers say that they were committed, and we could find 6 to 8
That's the
officers,
key.
we don't have to have 14,
Yeah,
with
that's
2
the key.
full-timers and 6 or 8 part-timers working the 12-hour shifts or 10-hour shifts. We should be able to get the coverage to do what we need to do, and again, save on all those extra fees that we're paying,
And
you know, the unemployment, the
Worst case scenario, if
workman's
we don't.
comp, and all those other
Yeah,
fees.
worst case scenario, Brian, if Duncannon backs out, and with the idea of coming back in the future once things squared away, we want to be able to jump right back in when we have to, or when we can.
Well,
So-
I know this isn't part of the budget, I mean, scheduling and stuff like that is to try to get creative. But I think what we should do here, at some time in the near future, is maybe have an executive session with the whole police force. And maybe throw some ideas out there on how we can work out scheduling, work out, not to scare anybody away or anything like that, it's just, we need to streamline our schedules. And we need to get our schedules in line. Yes, sir.
Has anybody done any research to find out townships our size, whether they're doing full 24/7 police forces, or what they're doing and everything else, and the costs and the consequences of full-time officers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I know, Joan, you've talked to some police departments, but again, they weren't our size.
Yeah,
That-
they weren't our
That's the
size.
issue that I have. The size of our township is the issue that's gonna consequently
Correct,
put the cost factor
correct.
almost in a prohibitive mode.
Well-
Not to say that I'm not for it, I
Correct.
understand that. I do believe that no matter how you handle this, if we're gonna be alone, it's gonna be a very, very difficult road.
Yes, it is, yes.
Yeah, oh, yes, it is.
Absolutely, and that's why we're talking
Yeah.
about what do we have to do, if we wanna maintain that 24/7 without Duncannon's income, can we do it with 100 and,
Realistically,
I'd be curious to see how many townships have a full-time police force at our size.
a lot of obviously, a lot of townships are backing away and getting out of police enforcement or law enforcement, and they're relying on the state police. That's a last resort as far as I'm concerned. And this is not anything against the state police, but the state police are undermanned, they're under money, they're under everything. You're not going
They
to
don't
get the
enforce
police
ordinances or
protection
anything like that.
correct,
that
exactly.
our police department gives us from the state police, and it's a last resort.
Yeah.
And I understand completely what you're saying, but the situation is, when you look at any township budget, regardless of size, and you break it down, the largest percentage is public safety. And a lot of that is the police departments where they have full-time departments. And that's what you have to anticipate, and that's what you have to look forward to. Trying to run a full-time police department with part-time guys is always a problem.
Well, and another
Always
fact,
a problem.
and another long-term factor that we can look at as solving some of this or working through some of this is actually a regionalization of, we started that with Duncannon, but I think with regionalization, it's a lot different than the contract we had with Duncannon. Would you, I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more difficult too. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame, but it is something to look
But yeah,
at somewhere down the line.
And the way we're
It's-
headed with the, getting people in to
Correct.
bring us up for even possibly accreditation too, which gives more credibility than other areas would like to get involved.
correct.
And like to get in on the same pie.
Because a lot of people
And
don't
then-
understand that when you go to PSP, again, they're not enforcing your codes, they're not enforcing your ordinances and stuff like that, which our local police departments do that,
They're responding, they're not being proactive. They can't afford to be, they don't have the manpower.
And they can't
I
know
mean,
every.
they have maybe 2 cars out for the county on a midnight shift.
Yes.
For a county this size, they don't have enough.
Response.
And that's a guess, I don't know what they have
Well,
now.
I can tell
At
you-
one time, not that long ago, they had 1 car out.
But I
in
can
the
tell you
county.
recently in Marysville, just last week, somebody called for the police department. Marysville didn't have anybody on duty, and it took an hour and 15 minutes for PSP to respond. And nothing against PSP. I'm
Nothing at
not,
all.
you know,
They're a great organization.
they could be out in Blaine on a call,
Yeah. And if
And
they're
that's
busy
something
with they're busy with the DUI, you're just gonna have to wait.
You're just gonna have to wait, So
So,
people always look at PSP as a resort, but they're not a solid resort.
and that's
Yeah.
that's why I say that's a last resort as far as I'm concerned.
Correct.
Because I think we'd be doing a disservice to everyone.
But my,
And I understand your your concerns. It is a big concern, but
My biggest concern is you keep reading in the papers this time of the year with the sheriff's sales and everything else and the delinquencies on the taxes, and that taxes are because of the school taxes and the county taxes.
Yeah.
okay? It's not because of the townships and everything else. And the townships are probably one of the best things that you get your bang for your buck for. I'm sure
Yes,
it anyways.
absolutely.
Once you get to the county level, you start getting more top heavy, I don't care, it's the way things work. And the school's the same way.
well,
And-
worst case scenario, even if we went to a part-time PD, I don't wanna even think about, but I mean, I would wanna do that before I abolish the police department, got rid of it completely. But we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with Duncan, where everything stands, once the dust settles there.
Well, and taking Duncannon out of the equation, we're looking at $45,800. Correct?
Incoming.
Income, yes, exactly. Okay? Now, out of that
56,210.
out of the 356,210, what line is Duncannon in? On
What are you looking for?
expenditure for Duncannon?
Second page. 186.
186,736. The first is with Duncannon, our cost.
Yeah.
Is 208,780, and Duncannon's is 186,736.
Oh, okay, I see.
Okay.
Then the second one is
So
just
the first one is,
strictly
the
us.
first one is us.
Yes, the first page is us, second page.
No, first page is us with Duncannon.
Okay, so the 2007, okay, there it is, with Duncannon.
With Duncannon, that's the expenditures that come from our side.
Okay,
The second one is without Duncannon.
The second one on our first page is us alone, without Duncannon, for the same amount of coverage for 24/7. 8-hour shifts. If you wanted to change that to 12-hour shifts, you would add another 43,680. And that's keeping us the same, plus, and that also is 24/7 plus the power shift, June, July, and August on Friday and Saturday nights. And that also is 4 hours a week court time.
so we're gonna have to find, in order to keep 24/7, we're gonna have to find
356.
Well, we have a revenue of 46,000, so we're gonna have to come up with another 300,000.
Say 300.
Yes.
300,000. So, and where do we find $300,000 to keep 24/7 without Duncannon?
And I believe the borough's budget for the police department in 2009 with 2 guys part-time was a little over 400,000.
That was the borough.
Yeah.
What was
That was in
prior
2009.
to you coming on?
Yeah.
For the township?
I'd have to look that number up, I don't know. Didn't tell me you
Because
went
we
that
didn't
far.
have- Yeah, well, no, because we didn't have a full-time police department.
No, we didn't.
We had a full-timer
Neither
and,
did the
Or
borough.
part-time.
well, no, here in the township.
Right.
Yeah, we had one full-timer and well, for a while, there's only Alan.
But we weren't 24/7.
No,
Correct.
no.
Okay.
We were getting maybe 16 hours.
I swear, I'll tell you, it's 20 years.
So with that,
I don't know, Steve wasn't here.
and that 46,000, I said?
Mhm.
Roughly 46,000,
Yep.
that's going to get us one full-timer.
Maybe.
I mean, one full-time as in the chief, because that is just his wage, that's not his benefit, well, he doesn't get benefits, but
Well, he doesn't take benefits.
he doesn't take benefits, correct,
But he still gets his, well, vacation and all that, but that's in the wage.
exactly. So,
You're pretty cut and dry with what you got there.
I know.
I mean, it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
So, I mean,
You're at the
so,
mercy of what Duncan's gonna dish out at the present moment.
correct. And-
Exactly.
And we have to anticipate we're not gonna have it, the way it looks, you know? The other thing is too, we're gonna have to pose it to the citizens of our township. Do you want it 24/7, and if you do, are you willing to pay for it? So how do
The
we,
answer will be yes and no.
yes and no, correct, because you can never please both sides of the pew, or the aisle.
Now, also next year with the increases in salaries and everything, if the corporal and I would work alone, out of that 356, 210, we would save $1,680 a week.
$1,680 a week.
There's different options.
Okay. Well, and
That would be $1,600 a week?
$1,680 per week, yes,
Per week or per pay?
per week. For 40, each 40-hour shifts. It would actually be $840 each per week, which would be $680.
What's that,
If we would save 16 hours, it would be 16 hours a day during the week.
what's that work out to over a year?
just in salaries, 87,360.
Now, that doesn't factor in your leave.
Well,
You
leave
still
with,
get
yeah,
paid
that
for
does,
it.
because it comes out of the STEM account.
Thank you.
That takes a good chunk out of the profit. Right off the top.
Rick, I have a question on the expenses, on the communication. Yeah, on communication, is that because of the new radios?
Yeah, and that is the thing too, and I left it back there. We did factor in about, I think, 21,000, I don't have it here, 21,700.
Something like that.
Yeah, that has been factored into here if they don't get the grant for us.
The
county
communications.
doesn't get the grant, that would be our cost. They're 99.9% sure they're gonna get the grant, so that would be another savings too. If they get the grant, then that 21,000 would actually roll back into one of the other items that we cut short to try and save. Yeah, and I had it printed out on the thing, I believe it is 21,700.
Yeah, because-
Somewhere around 21,000
You know, just looking at what we,
for the radios.
yeah, what our normal actual is.
When would we know if it's gonna come in or not? I don't know, they've been working on this for quite some time. But that would be our share if,
That would be in the next year though,
Oh,
2017.
yes, it is, that's why we put it in next year's budget, yes. And I should have brought that up earlier, I apologize.
Oh, we weren't on that portion yet.
Oh, okay. But that would be another savings too, that could be rolled into for something else. And I only dropped 1,000 for the fuel if we were by ourselves. Possibly we could do better because we're really doing good. We're watching the sheets cost as opposed to our co-stars cost, and we've been switching as need be. The tank was empty when it was the best time to buy, and we filled up, and I mean, it's a constant watch, and we've been doing that.
If you decide to put a letter out or anything in regards to tax increases, I think it'd be a beneficial thing. This comes up, if you have a claim for them, what a quarter of a mil tax increase would equal to.
Yeah.
It's very, very little. It's not gonna make you rich, not gonna cover anything, it's gonna be very, very, when you make.
It'd be about 56,000.
That's what I'm saying. I
It's
mean,
legal.
To create $100,000 worth, you need $500,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, because we're good,
So
about-
you could just, so it's very practical, you almost have to double your taxes.
Yeah, 'cause a $500,000 would give us about
half a mil give out on 56.
$500,000 will give us
No, I'm sorry, half a mil give us 111,000.
111,000,
And we're
correct.
what right now?
What's that?
We're 564,
564?
yeah, .564.
No.
Mm-hmm. Half a mil. Just slightly
So if you
over.
do make a suggestion of a tax increase, you're probably talking about a 100% tax increase. Am I correct?
At a quarter mil.
A quarter mil would be
Is
.75.
56,000 going to get you anywhere?
Well,
No, that wouldn't, a quarter mil wouldn't even be 56,000.
Yeah.
yeah,
That'll only be like 32 and a half.
and a $500,000 is,
50,
If you turn around and tell the taxpayers of Penn Township you're going to double your taxes, you're allowed to get targeted federal.
so.
No matter how you say it, that's what's going to end up
But I
being.
think, well, and that's where we have to ask, you know,
Mhm.
do you want the 24/7 police protection? If you want the 24/7 police protection, then we're going to have to increase tax. The other thing is that, you know, there's other factors into next year's budget, you know, that will be talked about at next meeting. That, you know, there's uncertainty, on next year's, budget. You know, it's,
We're dealing with the same issue right now.
Yes.
On the municipal authority.
I understand.
It's not going to be good at the year's end for us either.
Well,
so I
and
understand.
not to scare anybody, but the financial trends that are taking place in our markets right now are very similar to what happened just before 2008. Very similar. You look at the markets and look at the softening of it, and it could be worse. You know, and what do we do with the budget there with the revenues not coming in and people are getting laid off and people can't pay their property taxes and.
Same thing we did before.
I was at the Duncannon Borough meeting when their auditor, this is the forensic auditor they brought in, and one of the comments he made struck a chord with me, that to some degree, you're doing a disservice to your citizens if you don't raise taxes
If you wait,
at times, and you wait until the last minute to do it. Because then, you're taking a big chunk of the pie, rather than a little bit over a period of time.
So
That
Helen,
makes some sense.
you said $500,000.
Half a mil is
Roughly.
It's 110.
111.
111.
That's assuming everyone pays, and they don't.
Correct. Correct.
So it'd be safer to say 100,000
Yeah.
than a quarter mil's 50,000.
Yeah, yeah. That's more realistic, yeah.
Simple math. Keep it
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
So if you raise a half a mil, we get 200,000.
a mill.
I'm sorry, yeah, but if we raise a half a mil, what we have now, would bring in 200,000.
Oh. And that's double.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be too
Well,
much for
and
some
it's-
people, but it can be a heck of a lot for
There
a
are a lot
lot
of
of
people
people.
that have issues with it.
Well, and some of the other things we look at here is by us reducing the number of part-timers going from 14 to 8 and going to, and compromise 10-hour shifts, compromise of 10-hour shifts, looking at that, we would save, and it's not a lot of money, but we would save money in the,
Well, any number of shifts, as long as there's one working, that's all.
correct,
Yeah, we could
exactly.
have,
Yeah, we just can't
16-hour
have-
shifts
we
if
just
you want, as long as there's just one
We
working.
can't have the pleasure of working 3 guys on
Correct.
shift.
Right, correct.
You know,
Right.
during training, we had that, and, you know.
Right,
but
plus
that
they're
was-
getting a lower pay. too.
Exactly.
All this is all the budget I worked out as full pay, not probationary pay. So this is all at the full pay, so we will save some if they're still on probation on a
Correct,
certain number
you know.
too. Plus, like I said, June, July, and August, I factored in also a power shift for Friday night and Saturday night, so that's 16 hours. And that could be eliminated too. So there's, or we can cut that in half. We
Well,
can do
and-
4-hour shifts right around midnight.
And I guess my question is,
Or whatever we need. If
We
it's
really
pouring
don't-
down rain, we
Play
can
with
stop
that.
it. Yes,
You can play with
absolutely.
that however we
It can
have
be
to.
absolutely.
and we don't have any nuisance bars in our township that we, or even in the borough. Our bars seem to be pretty, Tubby's has a fight from time to time, but
But for the amount of people
People
down
that they
there,
bring
and the people
in.
they bring in,
Oh,
and the
exactly.
revenue,
It's- yeah,
I mean,
it's-
well, they're nothing compared
yeah,
to what.
exactly, so, breaking out that power shift,
That could be, that we could
You know.
knock it down to a 2 hour.
and then we save on workman's comp. Again, we're not gonna,
Well, you have to understand with workman's comp, I'm sorry, that's unemployment. Workman's comp is gonna be a flat fee. It doesn't go up and down depending on how many people you have.
okay, so,
So if
It's
we,
just the
It's
unemployment.
usually based on salary though, too.
yeah, it's based on salary, so that will save a little if we
Okay.
eliminate. But that's gonna be, we'll know what that number is at the beginning, or October actually, they'll be giving us our renewal, based on the numbers we have today.
but by trimlining
But-
to less part-timers working more hours, I think it would be more attractive to them wanting, if they're working a 10-hour or 12-hour shift, and they're working 3 days in a row or whatever, if we could get a solid working schedule, where are we at right now with part-timers, chief? Are we at
How many,
12?
you mean? 10.
10, okay.
Right, yeah.
And we normally run around 14, 15.
Well, no, 10, 11.
Yeah,
12,
10,
yeah,
11,
somewhere in
10
there.
to 12.
But, yeah, and the thing too, I mean, some of the people that we have don't have the opportunity to work all the time, like the DRE. I mean, he's, he has another job too, but that is a huge asset, a DRE, obviously, but, and he could work one night a week or 2 nights a week on the weekends,
Well,
and that
and-
would be perfect for time for him to work that.
Correct, and with that DR, yes, correct, exactly, and
And
so.
he goes off our clock when he gets called out by any other police department in the area. He goes on, the state pays him. So it's, he gets 4 hours automatically to get called out anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania.
But then we lose that shift, that coverage.
Unless it's a local call out.
Exactly.
Well, the state
Yeah.
doesn't have one, so
Correct.
they call him.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and it's not that, with his position and his qualifications, it's an asset we want to keep in the township.
And he's also able to train all our people all the way up to A-Ride, which is the one just under the DRE, so. And that's what we're hoping too, is in the process, we're getting our part-timers now trained in that too, and they're gonna be right under what he would be in A-Ride, and so they would be working too. And that's in a good invite for people to, geez, I get this many hours, plus I'm getting this kind of training, and it's not costing us anything. Except for pins.
And I just recently had somebody tell me is that you need to tell your police department to stop nabbing all these speeders through the township because they're not gonna wanna come through. Well, good, let them take
Yeah,
their
please
22,
don't.
because they'll get caught there too.
Yeah, go down the other side of River Road, run your
Yeah,
guys
let's
up
do it.
down from New York, don't come over here, please. yeah.
You know what, I'd rather have a safe road and know that our citizens are safe on those roads, so, my answer was, good, let them take their 22, because they'll get caught there too.
Yeah.
25
Yeah.
years ago, that was one of the most unsafe roads around here. You
It
hear
was.
very few accidents on that road
Yep.
right now. Sometimes it's wonder why some of us
And
travel
knock-
that
knock on wood,
every 4 times a day
fatalities
while
were-
we're even alive.
Oh, no, I just changed
Fatalities
insurance
are wrong.
companies, and, they do demographics, and I actually got a discount for living here.
Yep.
So,
And that's, I mean, I worked at Polyclinic when it was bad, and I remember, we had five people dying in an automobile accidents for
Yep. No, it's been very
We
quiet.
didn't have enough freezer space.
And I even think, like, since the road's been reopened, I think there's more traffic on 11 and 15 than there was before.
Yeah,
You know, I really do. I think it's
absolutely,
busier.
absolutely.
So, anyway,
But-
so I guess that's where we need to sit down, maybe, Chief,
Yes,
we'll have an
and-
executive session, we sit down with you and the corporal, we'll see what we can try to do to look at the potential budget. We have to look at our schedules to see what we have, but I think it's something we need to address very soon. That way we have a plan.
Well, yeah, especially for this year, we need to
Yes.
do something now. if we
Let's,
plan.
let's see what the meeting holds on Monday.
Correct.
We can schedule something after that.
Yeah, sure. All right.
Yeah, I'm available anytime. I'll make myself available.
All right. Well, I'll
And I
bring my
can work
grill,
on-
you bring the steaks.
What's that?
I bring my grill, you bring the
There you go.
steaks. So,
I'll bring the
you bring the A1. So, all right. Okay. So, unfortunately, we're not gonna have a clear picture for at least another 30, we can get a clearer picture about this year's budget, within the next couple of weeks. But unfortunately, next year's budget for the police department, we're gonna have to put 3 budgets together. One, well, you do, we just gotta put the third one together for part-time. Having not a 24/7,
Oh,
you know?
And that's all depends on, and you just tell me how many hours you do want, and
Correct.
I'll work out a budget for it, piece of cake.
All right, so if you wanna work with the chief on that part of it, that way when we have a meeting, we have something to compare.
Yeah.
I
So,
believe they used to do, they had what, two?
They used to have one,
One full-time or 2 part-time? When it was,
yes, when Alan and Schaefer were here.
yeah,
And before that, they had 3 part-timers.
yeah.
They had the chief, Gary, and then they had Steve and Alan was
2
part-time.
part-time. Which can also be too. I mean, it
No,
It just all depends how many hours you're.
I'm assuming you're gonna end up representing the police at a later date.
oh, we'll have to.
Community,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
It's so vague right now, you didn't really get nowhere. not being
exactly,
offensive.
you know,
I'm assuming before budget time.
Too many variables.
Yeah.
You're gonna represent that?
yeah, oh yeah, that's what I just said, that within the next 2 months,
Well, September, if we know anything then, we
by
can,
September, we should have a clearer picture of where we're at for next year. You know, for this year's budget, we'll work with the chief, with executive session and try to work those things out, to make sure we have, coverage for the fourth quarter without them. You know, and how can, you know,
Do you have very many people that would prefer part-time over full-time employment? Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of seasoned guys that,
That you don't have to worry about paying all their more education and training for?
absolutely, yeah. And they only prefer to work so many hours too, because then, I guess, it works out what they're getting too, with like unemployment or
Yeah.
not unemployment, but social security or anything.
Whatever.
okay. Any other questions referencing to the vague budget for the police department? And I want to thank the chief for working those 2 budgets out with and without. So that we just got to work on a third one. So, okay. All right, I lost my agenda.
new business,
Oh, here it is. What's that?
new business,
Yes.
if there's any.
Was there any new business?
I didn't have any, but you guys might have, school district?
Oh, yes.
That's for Tuesday, August 22.
Yeah, this is, yeah,
Wanted to
I
say
said
something to you earlier,
Thursday.
and I'll bring that up. I'll
Okay.
speak with you privately about that,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Well, first football game starts Monday though.
Right. Well, we have an agreement in place with the school district.
Okay,
And I spoke with Mark about this, and we're going to put a separate contract together to bring to the school board.
okay,
And as of now, through Mark, we can work under the old system,
agreement,
the old agreement until that contract
okay,
has been signed by the school board.
okay.
And the reason, but the problem being, the school board, they have to jump through a number of hoops before they can get approval to sign
They have
off
to go
on
to-
any
Correct.
contract.
Exactly,
We don't bill until the end of the season anyway.
correct.
And the
So-
rate was the rate that I discussed with you.
Correct.
So,
Okay.
we get a little bit of an increase, but not that
Okay.
big, so.
And at this point here, verbally, they agreed to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we
I
just gotta
spoke
get-
with the superintendent yesterday, and
Okay.
that's an agreement. in
So we
place.
can continue with current contract, agreement with negotiation of a new one?
And if we put an agreement that's more suited, or a contract that's more suited to their needs, which we should be able to do without too much difficulty, and let them take it to the board, let the board approve it, they sign off on it, and we'll have one in
Okay, and-
place moving forward
And
from
not to
that
throw,
point
and
on.
not to throw a wrench in it, but because it is the school district and stuff like that, would we wanna make that maybe a longer contract, make it a 2-year contract? That way we don't have to keep going back every year.
That's fine.
you
We can
know.
make it a 10-year contract.
I don't know if they, I don't know if they do that.
Well, the other thing is, you
And they
want to
decide-
allow for some increase in the fee too.
Yeah, I don't know how they, with the school board, if they can sign that, contracts.
Yeah,
And some games, they, if they anticipate problems, they
crowd.
want another
Correct.
officer too, but, you know,
Okay.
it was pretty.
it was just a thought that we don't have to keep going back.
Yeah, sure, I mean,
You know,
if Mark, it's all, you know, you don't wanna mess up what you have already in place, your
Correct.
ordinance in place, you know, by doing something outside of that, then it makes it null and void, so. But like I said, we don't bill till the end of the season anyway, so.
Okay,
Now, Mark,
We got plenty of time, plenty.
yeah, Mark said there's no problem with that.
Excellent.
And we can work under the old agreement, and we can put something together and let them have it. They can take their time to get it done, right?
Yep, absolutely,
And we're good to go.
okay.
yep.
Okay, the next part, if there's nothing else underneath new business, visitors. Okay. Cece? No? No. Oh, you're with them? Oh, is he taking you out to dinner? All right. Oh, Chinese restaurant's open for another hour. So, anyway, all right, if there is no other business, then, what's that word?
We move to adjourn?
Adjourn?
Yeah, move to adjourn.
Second motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, sir.